Mandy went away. We're live.
Good evening, poultry keepers, and we're happy to have you with us tonight. We hope everybody's had a good week so far. I know we have. We were just talking about that. Um, we had a really fun experience at the Ohio National, and coming up in just a few seconds, we're going to dive right into that. So stick with us. Kerry,
Yes, sir.
you man, but I had fun at Ohio.
Man, it was a blast.
It really was.
I enjoyed it. I met so many people that I really hope I don't get a name quiz. But
I agree.
When I sit and I think about it, I see a lot of them in the comment section, and that really made me feel good.
Mandolin, did you meet lots of new folks this time?
I met a bunch of new people and some old friends and some recent friends. A lot of people came through, and one gentleman even found me right in the middle of the aisle, and we hadn't met in person before, but he knew me just in the crowd, and that was fun. We ended up talking for about 20 minutes or so.
I had one lady that stopped and said hi. She said, "I recognized your voice." And I thought, "Oh, that's scary."
I remember her. She was nice.
I tried to compare this year to last year, and it's hard because last year we had so many people. It was just it was hard to be able to talk to very many people. I got to visit with more people this year. Some I knew, some I didn't know, and it was a real worthwhile effort for me. Met new folk. Oh, I met folks that I knew, but for the first time I met them there. Logan Courtney was there, and of course Craig Hanson's there, and he's always such a good guy to talk with and chew the fat. He and I are getting to be pretty much alike. I found out, but
Logan cracks me up. He's hilarious.
I didn't have. I wasn't able to get out into the show itself to look at birds. I saw a few birds that folks brought by for us to look at, but I hope you guys were able to get out into the show and poke around in there.
I did a little bit, and I went up and down the aisles trying to think of, because remember when we were sitting at the table and we were talking, and I was like, I think I might need something I can exhibit now that's already APA approved.
Mm-hmm.
And I went walking up and down those aisles, and it didn't help me make a decision.
That's a lot to take in at that show. A lot to take in.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and this year compared to last year was a pretty big deal because it was a big anniversary shindig. They had the new release of the new book. They had a couple different breed functions. And this time, that really wasn't going on to that same extent. And I think it was fewer entries, too. It was just a little smidge over 7,000 birds there. But last year, wasn't it just over 11,000 or something like that?
It was almost 12,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So that's why it was so congested last year, because
yes, exactly.
Significantly more birds.
That was a significant anniversary for the American Poultry Association, 150 years.
Yeah.
I found out that was also the 150th anniversary for the Ohio National Poultry Show. I did not know that until this year. But yeah, there were a lot of breed clubs that had national meets there. I know the Red Club had one there. There were some national meets there this year, but not as many as they had last year. And honestly, I didn't expect them to have that. But it was still, I was talking with Clay Lagler, one of the show officials there, before I went up, and he said that this year, with 7,000 birds on display, that it was a record year for them, largest show that where a APA or an ABA national meet was not involved. Of course, when you have those national meets, the numbers all skyrocket and go crazy. But that's that. When you stop and think about it, they normally have around 5,000 birds at the show, and then they have 7,000 after that big massive birds they had last year, that's some pretty incredible numbers. That's a lot of chickens. I honestly do not see how those judges managed to get through all those birds in the time that they did. I was quite shocked when by 3 o'clock it was obvious that a lot of the judges had already finished their assignments. And they had 14 judges. That's still a lot of birds per judge.
Yeah, it's a just
That's
walking into
that's
that hall and hearing it. It does not sound like your home flock at all. It sounds like wow. And
if
I
your home
wonder
flock.
what the percentage is between large fowl and bantam.
I
There
don't know.
had to be more bantams.
Oh, there are always more bantams.
Yeah.
Oh,
Always
yeah.
more bantams. Probably 2 to 1. I would take a guess. That's kind of typical for a lot of shows.
I mean,
And
there
it's
was a
been
lot
that.
of bantams, and there was also a lot of the other breeds that are just really small. Period.
And of course, they have turkeys there, and geese, and ducks, and
It's
guineas.
never that many turkeys though. That's why I keep
No.
thinking about bringing at least my
Mm-mm.
tom. But then I started thinking about, well, what's it like to wash and prep a turkey?
It's called a pain. No,
Yeah,
I'm
so
kidding.
as you
It's
know,
a
I've
labor
not
of
yet bought
love.
a turkey.
That would. I mean, that would be tough. You would have to get like a 55-gallon drum and cut it in half to wash a turkey.
Maybe some dry shampoo and walk them through some soapy water.
Yes.
Something.
We got a good comment here from April. Ohio National is a Westminster Kennel Club for poultry. I agree with that.
Yeah.
If you get a placing in a class there, that's like winning top honors anywhere else. Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
April. If you get a bird on Champion Row, it's a dream come true. And yeah,
I can
there's a
see
lot of
that.
birds vying for that, and not everybody gets a shot at that. Not
Mm-mm.
everybody gets a shot at that. I've got a few slides here. I'll pop those up, and we can run through those. Come on here. This one I really liked, and Mandy, I particularly liked your comment about it was hard to get us all to stand still at one time to get a picture. That's so true. There's Jeff Maddox on the left, and Mandolin, myself, and Terry on the right. But I think that was probably one of the few times we were all quiet and together at the same time in the same place.
That was tricky that day.
It was. It really was. Here's we were all kind of ganged up there at Terry's booth, the Show Pro booth, and you can see we had quite a spread of goodies there. Of course, Terry had his Show Pro supplement there. You had some coloring pages, Rhode Island Red coloring pages, and
Yeah.
also we had our stickers there that everybody just fell in love with. And you can see a couple of them there in Mandolin's hand. We had Poultry Keepers 360, and we also had the Poultry Keepers podcast stickers there. And I'll tell y'all how you can get, we had a few left, okay? In a few minutes, I'll tell you just how you can get some if you missed out or you weren't able to come. We got a plan. We got a plan to get you some. I think probably one of the highlights for me was being selected and honored by being inducted into the National Hall of Champions. I didn't see that coming. I really did not. A lot of good folks in there, and I was proud to be in that group. They did 4 awards for people who were still living. I'm glad to be in that bunch. And they also did 4 for people who are deceased. But the ones who received awards that are living was Bill Wolf from the Poultry Press, myself, Vic Sternman, and Tom Carey. I thought it was kind of cool. We had 2 people in there from the state of Florida. Go Florida. Got to get that plug in. And then the folks who have passed away was Arthur Schilling. So, gosh, I can't think of anybody any more qualified to be in the National Hall of Champions than Art Schilling. Ben Ricketts. I knew Benny Ricketts. He was a sport, and I'll just leave it at that. Eleanor Vintage, longtime secretary for the National Club, and Tommy Stanley. Tommy Stanley probably turned more people on to Plymouth Rocks than anybody else I know of. He had a lot of Plymouth Rocks. He had a lot of breeds, period. But he would show up and he would have a couple of cases of hatching eggs. That he was always bringing hatching eggs for people. So we owe Tommy a lot in this fancy. This is a shot of the awards table. The plaques up front were for the folks in the National Hall of Champions, but all those trophies you see in the background were given out for all different kinds of awards. Very, very nice trophies. Particularly if you look right over in the middle of that program, they even had one there this year that looked like a National Wrestling Alliance championship belt or something. I thought that was kind of cool.
I saw that. I was like, okay.
I hadn't seen those before.
This is pretty awesome, though. Do you know what award it was for?
I think it was show champion.
That's fitting.
And that was for Bill Patterson won that for black rosecomb female.
Bantam. She was super cute.
Yes. Rosecomb bantam. I mean, rosecombs only come in bantams, yeah. But that's neat there. But that's just some of the photos that we got. We had folks drop by for us to take pictures with us, and Bronwyn Rooney brought her model Brahma, and for us to take a look. I was impressed by that bird. I mean, he's got good size, but he had the closest things to modeling as you'll find. Most of what they call model birds today have great big splashes of white, and it should just be the tip of the feather white, about every third feather. April also want to know if did you get to see the final birds that made it on Champion Row? April, we did not. We left first thing Sunday morning, headed back home. I had to go back to Birmingham. I rode up to Birmingham, met Carrie there, and we came up Friday. And then I managed to ride back with Jeff Maddox to Birmingham, met my wife there, and then we came on home the next day. But by and large, it was a great experience. If you ever have the chance to go to the Ohio National, you owe it to yourself to go and to check it out and to see what it's all about. There was some sad things that happened. I know when I got up Saturday morning before we went out to the showgrounds, people were talking there at the motel I was at where they had 4 or 5 pickup trucks broken into. There was the motel just south of where I stayed that had 6 vehicles broken into. And then I found out when I got to the showgrounds that there was another motel that had another 6 broken into. And sadly, Carrie, you had your trailer broken into. You found that on Sunday morning. So
yep.
Really hated to hear that.
It is what it is. I left the trailer unattended at the fairgrounds with absolutely no issues. And I thought to myself, you know what? Not going to stop by the fairgrounds Sunday morning, go ahead and get out of town, beat some of the traffic. So I get 2 hours up the road, another place in Ohio I had to stop, go to get in the back of my trailer. And yeah.
Well, I hate that, but like you said, it is kind of what it is sometimes.
Yeah, it is what it is.
We've got another part of the program tonight, and before we move on into that, Mandy or Carrie, do you have anything else you want to chime in about Ohio?
Just that it was a lot of fun, and at some point I need to start taking birds with me, and I'm going to start showing probably at a couple spring things and then get prepared for that bigger show.
When you go to a big show for the first time, no matter how well you think you've prepared, it's still a shocker. Although
Right.
you'd be surprised, I saw a couple of posts that some junior members, that was the first show they went to, and one of the kids had, I think, two birds up on Champion Row. First time out of the box, first time he'd showed, first time he'd been to Ohio. That's pretty cool, I thought.
Some of the stories of people getting there and they have that super happy surprise.
Yes.
That's so cute to see when it's the juniors. Like they're so ecstatic.
And
Super cute.
some of those kids were walking around with ribbons, and I don't think their feet were even touching the ground. They were just kind of floating around on energy.
Well, especially if the trophy was about as tall as they were.
Yeah.
They had some big trophies there, no doubt about it. Hey, I was told everybody we were going to tell them how they could get some of our stickers. And this was Jeff Maddox's idea, but Jeff will do this, and Kerry is going to do that. If you make a purchase with Kerry starting December the 1st, he'll stick some stickers in that package coming to you. And Jeff Maddox said if you bought one of his books or some of the show and breeder supplement, he would stick stickers in that one for you. So that's a good way to get the stuff you need, and a couple of 3 or 4 or 5, no telling how many you'll get, stickers to put on your incubator or your bird carrying totes or your notebook, or stick on your car windshield, wherever you want to stick them. These are quality stickers. They advertise them as being bomb proof. I don't know quite how they figured out they were bomb proof. I probably don't want to know, but
I was going to say, I don't really want to test that.
no.
But I will say, as somebody, like my wife has a vinyl cutting machine, and I've seen lots of different quality of stickers, and these are actually, they're really good quality stickers, and they're thicker.
So. Yes,
they're thick. So
they're high quality stuff. April, before we get off of Ohio, I want to share this. April said, I love how they have the judges give comments for the final judging of the top awards. That's true, April, and not all shows are able to do that. The one-day shows, it's just hard to do that. With a 2-day show, you got more time to do some of these kind of cool things. Mm-hmm. My hat's off to them for doing that. Before we go to Kerry, I just want to say one thing, and I just want to say thank you to the Furtrell Company for their sponsorship, which makes these live streams possible. We couldn't do it without their support. So thank you, Furtrell. Now, Kerry, I'm going to turn it over to you, buddy. He's going to talk with us about poultry lighting, and he's got some interesting things he's going to share with us. Lighting poultry is not all as easy as you might think it might be. A lot of things to think about. Kerry, it's all yours, buddy.
All right. So Mandy and I, we have this thing where we'll talk and have awkward conversations about weird chicken stuff. And then, we'll say, for science, whatever it is.
I heard that a lot this weekend.
I'm sorry. She and I came up with quite a few projects that we're both working on. Like for science, I'm going to grow some Chanticleers, which were originally designed up in Canada and do really well in Vermont. I'm going to see how well they'll do in Alabama because, for science, it's needed. So I went down a rabbit hole and I started studying about poultry lighting because, there's all kinds of different things about, a lot of people say, do this, do that, do this. Well, from what I've found, there is a lot of scientific research out there that has been done on poultry lighting. And, it's more than just a 16-hour daylight that gives the birds the advantage. It's more than just about the eggs. With 16 hours worth of daylight, it helps the reproductive portions work, gets the rooster in the mood to do his job. The hens have that lighting cycle that makes them fertile like they should be because it has some hormonal regulations and things like that. And it affects the reproductive efficiency for both the male and the female. So it's really good with that. And in my study, I also found out that the bluer hues of light work really well in the brooder, because the blue lights, that part of the spectrum, really helps with the chick development. It helps with the vigor, all kinds of things that's going to make a young chick grow and be big. The blue lights really do that. And the red lights really help with the reproductive part. They help with the fertility and all the other stuff that goes along with having that 16-hour daylight. I also learned that you don't need bright lights. You know, everybody thinks, oh, I need to light it up like a baseball stadium or something like that. And from what the science actually shows, somewhere between 2,700 Kelvin and 3,000 Kelvin is totally adequate, which is equivalent to about a 60 watt light bulb in a 10 by 10, maybe a 10 by 15 size pen. So, you know, because some people get these LEDs and they stress the birds out. They're like, oh, I got these LED lights and I put them up and now my birds aren't laying. Well, number one, they think that it's the brightest day of the year for 16 hours. Another thing that I found out is, even though the human eye can't see the flickering in LED lights, some LED lights they do flicker. So that birds can see, and it stresses them out. And I actually figured out a way where you can cheat and figure that. If you take your cell phone and open the camera up and actually shine it at the light that you're wondering about, you can actually see, I don't know how the camera slows it down, but you can see the flickering. So when you're getting lights, that's one thing you need to think about. I know Philips makes some that are flicker free, and they're also in the 2,700 Kelvin range. And, you know, I know this is a lot of data, but one of the things that I found in doing the research that would make it easy for you to pick out the right lights is look for broad spectrum grow lights, like you were going to grow plants inside of a building. You know, if you wanted to start some tomatoes early to get a head start or whatever, those lights will also benefit your poultry and help with that. I did have a guy reach out to me last week after reading my article that I have on my website. And he told me that, he said, you know, you even said that when I first saw this, I thought it was crazy. And when I first heard you talking about it, I thought it was crazy. But after reading the article last year, I decided to do it. And he said, I got some blue lights and put them in one brooder. And I did what I was doing in the other brooder. And
For science.
For science. And he said, fast forward a year, and when I look at those birds, he said, they're bigger. They have more vigor. They hunt and peck more when they're going through the yard looking for stuff, scavenging, whatever you want to call it. He said they do that more. They're more active birds. And I was like, all those articles I read was right. And that's what I had found too. You know, I thought it was weird, but I ordered me a bunch of little blue, I think like 6 watt LEDs. They're probably about this big, and put them in my brooders. And, you know, now when I look at the flock that I have, I can tell a noticeable difference in my grow outs I did it with some of the American breasts, and some of them are a lot better than others. And I can't help but wonder if it was a light.
It could have
Carrie,
been.
go ahead, Mandy. I'm sorry.
I've been playing around with the light a little bit in my different pen situations, and it's early in my study, but yeah, it makes a difference down to the spectrum of it, the type of bulb, how long it's on, and what the intention of the birds is for, whether you're brooding chicks or you're trying to maximize egg production, or if you're trying to turn off your feeding for birds who need to be on a limited diet, or turn on the feeding to give them longer. The light plays the role in almost everything a chicken does. So making sure it's the right light and the right spectrum for the intended purpose. If you're not trying to have it all natural outside, then you have to create an environment that's healthy for them, for their needs.
And one thing I'd like to throw out is that for those of y'all that are thinking, man, I really should have a lighting program. If you're doing that outside, there's a couple of things for you to think about. Number one, it's less stressful for the birds if you wake them up early instead of have them finding their roost in the dark. So my lights actually come on about 3 a.m. and they go off at 4, which I know that's not 16 hours, but when you look at the normal day, that gives them the last couple of hours of the day to eat supper, do whatever they're going to do, get to their roost, and have a normal evening. And so I found that it's less stressful. And also when you're stretching out that day, if you do it at a rate of about 30 minutes per week, that stresses them out less as well. And so for me, what I do is summertime, chickens do chickens, and then they have their lights on too. But when they have the molt, I cut my lights off because birds are already stressed out. They're already hotter than normal. They're already all this other stuff. So I cut them off at the molt. And when the birds are fully feathered again, I'll see what time it is when the sun comes up, and I'll start right there, and I'll back it up 30 minutes a week until I'm back to that 3 a.m. And I also leave my lights on all day because I did invest in the LED ones. So it's costing me like maybe 20 cents a day, which is very nominal. But I found that for my birds, whether it's sunny outside or whether it's dim outside, having that constant light, they lay. And that's one thing, I don't want my birds to be stressed out. So that's why I leave them on all day. So, yeah.
Kerry, I will add that for those people who have the GQF brooders, the old Brower brooders that has a little screw-in light bulb, they usually come with a white light bulb. You can get the red ones, but if you really look, you can also find blue light bulbs for those.
Yep. Amazon.
And the other thing that I would add, you were talking about using your cell phone. You can get a photographer lighting app for your phone. There's free ones out there, but it will tell you exactly what your light intensity is, the Kelvin, the whole 9 yards.
Yep. And you actually pointed that out to me probably 6 or 8 months ago. And I went out to my breeding pens, and with that app, and I was checking my lights, and I was like, hey, they didn't lie on the advertisement when I bought these. So
I love it when that happens.
Yeah, because a lot of times when you order crap, you get crap.
True.
Yep.
We got a question here. Bob Guerin says, I don't turn the lights on early because the crowing might bother the neighbors. There is that, Rob.
Yeah, and I'm lucky. My nearest neighbor is through the woods, a little over a football field away. My kids, however, did make comments in the beginning, and I got them one of them little Google Homes and got them set on listening to some kind of something at night. Like for me, I listen to ocean sounds, and they don't wake me up.
To a fan. I'm a fan person.
But see, look, the house that we had this house built 6 years ago, and it's got this really nice ceiling fan that blows really well, but it don't make any noise.
Yeah, you can't hear those.
And
no, you need that good old classic box fan.
You can tell Google to do that too. She'll play that noise for you.
I don't want Google in the bedroom.
There's always it's not an Alexa, so there's not a camera in it.
There you go.
Those have cameras.
Alexas do, yeah.
Creepy.
Rob says you can use your phone to shoot slow motion video to see the flicker too.
Yep, you
And
sure can.
I have done that. That's easy to do. See, April says, "Do you think it is the same for chicks and ducklings for the
I will.
lighting in the brooder?"
I will say I have not tested ducklings because I do not have ducks. Although I will eventually get ducks because I want them to eat my mosquitoes. But from the research that I did, I do know that it works on turkeys. And the research, a lot of it says like one of the articles starts out with poultry lighting biology. So they use the term poultry pretty broad. So I would think that it would be a safe assumption that it would do the same for ducks.
And a lot of birds share like the same vision and the same stress factors. And
Yes.
there's even studies out there about how wild birds are impacted by the ambient lighting of being near urban areas.
Mhm.
And I would assume it applies for avian in general.
Well, another thing is, and I'm going to give one of my secrets out here for science and because I love the poultry keepers group. I get asked a lot of times how I get a 16-ounce quail. The blue lights are very key to that growth along with proper nutrition. We talk about nutrition a lot because it is a huge part of it. But in my barn where I grow my quail, I have enough bright light that I can see when I need bright light to do what I need to do. But the lights that stay on 16 hours a day are blue.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I keep my breeders in a separate barn and theirs is red.
Hey, speaking of quail, Homewood Matters. We used grow lights for our quail brooders. Moved to the same room as the plant starts, and they seemed calmer and healthier or hardier. 4-week-old chicks outside with lows in the 40s. I swear it is the grow lights.
Blue based.
Mm-hmm. Because I know it's no secret, I like to hatch chicks out in the wintertime. And even Rhode Island Red, 4 to 5 weeks, we're going outside.
And we're talking about lighting and how it will help the females to lay. But don't forget, breeding season's coming up. Don't forget your old males are going to need lighting just like your females will to have fertility. And usually the older males need more lighting than the females do.
They need to know it's springtime.
That's right.
Yep.
Sorry, Carrie, I kind of got us off track there. I apologize.
No, that's all right. And for that, on my outside breeding pens, however you say that, whatever term you want to use, I have the broad spectrum grow lights that have the blue and the red in them because I want to promote the growth and the development of the bird while the light's on, but they're my breeders. So I obviously want to get the other stuff working as well. And I feel confident that that's why my hatch rate is in the high 90s because of the lighting. Because before, my wife looked at me like I was totally crazy when I started running Romex around all my breeding pens. She was like, "What?" And I told her, I said, "Well, I need lighting and they need fans because mine, I have up in the top of the breeding pens, I have a 12-inch fan that blows straight down. So when they're in the bottom of the pen where there's solid walls in the summertime, they still get a breeze. And it also helps out a lot when I have a lot of rain. It helps dry the muck back up too. So it comes in handy in the like now the fans are off and it's just the others because the fans are on one timer and the lights are on another. Because I'll run the fans from like 10 to 4 in the summertime.
We were talking about waterfowl lighting. Rob Guerin says there's a park I know of next to a car wash with the big security lights on all night long. And the ducks there lay eggs all winter long. So sounds like
There
it
you
does
go.
indeed
Yeah.
have the same impact. Thank you, Rob.
When I used to work late at night, I would see it in the mockingbirds and the Canadian geese and a couple other birds. I'm like, what are you guys doing up so late?
Anything else, Kerry?
That's the biggest gist of it. I think if people have any questions, they can look in the Poultry Keepers 360 Facebook group, click on files. I know you have there's a couple of articles there about lighting. And I've had a couple people reach out and want to know where I did the bulk of my research because, for science, they wanted to check it out too and go down a rabbit hole. So I shared that with them as well. So if anybody, wants any of that information, they can let me know. For our listeners that are not on Facebook, I'm in the process of putting those files on a website where people that don't do social media can go and find that data and look at the files and see the stuff that we talk about on the show. So a link to that will be forthcoming.
Cool. And I got a sneak peek at that, and you guys are going to like that website. Before we go, I've got a quote here that I want to share with folks. When I was at Ohio, I had, I don't know, half a dozen people or so said, "Why do you do what you do? What's your motivation to do this?" And I said, well, kind of all boils down to something my mentor told me one time, E.W. Reese Jr., no relation to Frank Reese, different set of Reeses. He said, all the poultry knowledge you acquire is wasted if you don't share it. And that has stuck with me over the years. And that's a large part of why I do what I do.
My motivation is slightly different in that if you hoard all your information, then you miss out on that community of finding better solutions and better improvements as they go.
Exactly.
Because it's that sharing of ideas and sharing of concepts to where you can help someone have their own better idea. And if they end up doing it better than you, more power to them. Let them. Don't guard all that stuff and keep it to yourself. Share it and see if anyone can do it better. It's like challenging yourself by challenging others by sharing what you know. Let them do better.
Madeline, in a sense, it's a lot like selling someone birds. If somebody bought birds from me and they beat me with my own birds, more power to them. That was still a good reflection on my birds.
And a good reflection on your mentorship.
Yeah. It's this hobby has meant a lot to me over the years. I'm hoping it's going to mean as much for me and for whatever time I have left. But I've met some really fine people. This gang here I work with is some of the best folks I know of. And we've had some good conversations. Some of it was for science, and some of it was just for fun, and some of it was for just sharing with each other. And I hope you have a group as good as I hope you're as fortunate to have a group like I do that I can share and bounce ideas off of. We do that on a regular basis.
See, for me, I agree with what you said. I feel like personally, there's a lot of things that are only passed from one person to the next or one generation to the next by hand or by mouth. And if we don't share that, if we don't share the ways that it's done and we don't tell our secrets, then they die with us. And that's not the part of the legacy that I want.
No.
So I like to share because I want people to know, and I want this hobby, I want agriculture, period, to be something that can continue. So,
It's
and
really important that it does.
Mhm.
like you
Everybody
share,
eat.
two people share their secrets, and they both know the same secrets. To be honest, what really makes the decision as to who the better breeder is with the judge. You want to talk about, well, I want my competitive edge or whatever. Well, I mean, you kind of
But
have
what
an
is it really?
unfair. You have an unfair advantage if you're not sharing your secrets.
Exactly.
So you share your secrets, and people will find out really how good you are.
If I don't share what I know, okay, other people are going to suffer. And if I do share what I know, then for me to stay ahead of everybody else, I got to keep learning. I got to keep growing. I got to keep improving.
Yep, got to stay on
Keeps
your
me
A
on
game.
my toes. So it benefits me when I share stuff like that. Okay. You guys got anything else you want to talk about? Anybody else have a question? We've had some questions pop up. I think we've answered all we've gotten to. April said that if anyone missed it, the Ohio National had a live stream of the awards. You can go to their page, which I'm assuming is on, I don't know if that's on their website or their Facebook page, but at any rate, it's out there, probably on YouTube too, and watch the judges go over the winners. And that's always a fun thing to do. Always a fun thing to do. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we hope that we're finishing up a little bit early tonight, but that's probably because Jeff is not able to be with us tonight. He had some things going on in his life that just prevented him from being here tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, until 2 weeks from now, we hope that you keep enjoying your birds, you keep enjoying each other, and you just keep enjoying life. Until 2 weeks, we will see you guys